something outside and I have to go get my phone.
Good evening, everyone.
We'll be right back.
It looks like we're finally ready to get on the air. Okay, I need to turn that for you.
I can move them. I can move them.
And we are ready to begin with candle lighting, everyone.
Hey, Shabbat Shalom. Whoops. Got a little bit of a low wick.
Yeah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'chadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Thank you, Susan. Everyone, you turn to page 6. And if we could read together the lower portion, beginning with May the door. That would be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture.
May the doors of the synagogue be narrow enough to shut out its enemies and
Pride. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, or harshness. May the synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. Turning to page 10. The sun on the treetops is no longer seen. Come, gather to welcome the Sabbath, our Queen. Behold her descending, the holy, the blessed, and with her the angels of peace and of rest. Draw near, and here abide. Draw near, O Sabbath bride. Peace also to you, you angels of peace. Turning to page 13 for the Shiru.
All right. So this means sing to Adonai a new song. Sing to Adonai all the earth. If you would like to sing along, I could sure use the support. Shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash. Shiru l'Adonai, kol ha'oret. Shiru l'Adonai, baruch hu shemo. Basiru miyom liyom shiruato. Shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash. Shiru l'Adonai, and we are now going to turn to page 20 for Lecha Dodi.
What page?
Page 20. Again, please join with me.
We're singing verses.
Oh, we're going to sing verses 1, 3, and 9. Ready? Lecha dodi lekrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi lekrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Mikdash melech ir melucha, kumi iti mitochachecha. Rav lach shavet be'amek habcha, v'hu yitmo halayiktim la. Lecha dodi lekrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi lekrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Boi b'shalom atnecha. Whoops, sorry, I lost that. Boi b'shalom atra ba'ala, gam b'shinta uv'tzahala. To emune am segala. Boi chala. Lecha dodi lekrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi lekrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Oh, and the translation for that, sorry, I forgot to do the first verse, but it is, beloved, come to meet the bride. Beloved, come to meet Shabbat. And we did, royal shrine, city of kings, rise up and leave your ravaged state. You have dwelt long enough in the valley of tears. Now God will shower mercy on you. Enter in peace, O crown of your husband. Enter in gladness. Enter in joy. Come to the people that keeps its faith. Enter, O bride. Enter, O bride.
Turning to page 23. Adonai is sovereign. God is robed in grandeur. Adonai is robed. God is girded with strength. The world stands firm. It cannot be shaken. Your throne stands firm from of old. From eternity you have existed. The ocean sounds, Adonai. The ocean sounds its thunder. The ocean sounds its pounding. Above the thunder of the mighty waters, more majestic than the breakers of the sea, is Adonai, majestic on high. Your decrees are indeed enduring. Holiness befits your house, Adonai, for all times. On page 24, you heard the thunder. On page 24, peace be to you, O ministering angels, messengers of the Most High, majesty of majesties, Holy One of blessing. Enter in peace, O messengers of peace, angels of the Most High, majesty of majesties, Holy One of blessing. Bless me with peace, O messengers of peace, angels of the Most High, majesty of majesties, Holy One of blessing. Depart in peace, O messengers of peace, angels of the Most High, majesty of majesties, Holy One of blessing. Turning to page 26.
v'yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. B'alma divrach yerute, v'yamlik malechute, b'chaye echon uv'yom echon, uv'chaye dechal beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, uvizman kori, v'yimeru, amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach, V'olam Maya Yitbarach, Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitale v'yitchalal, shmei dekudesha b'rechu leila. Min kol birkata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, dami rav yoma v'yimeru, amen. And the translation for that is, exalted and hallowed be God's great name in the world which God created according to plan. May God's majesty be revealed in the days of our lifetime and the life of all Israel, speedily, imminently, to which we say, Amen. Amen. Blessed be God's great name to all eternity. Blessed, praised, honored, exalted, extolled, glorified, adored, and lauded be the name of the Holy Blessed One, beyond all earthly words and songs of blessing, praise, and comfort, to which we say, Amen. Amen.
Turning to page 27, which you should be next to. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer, of the mystery of a withered leaf, unripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips the blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days. Lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine set my ways. Entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time, even at unlikely times and through unlikely places. There is no place on earth without the presence. Turning to page 31. No, I'm sorry, page 28. The glasses work for one thing, they don't work for the other. I'm sorry. So all please rise. Please all join me in the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMvorach, Baruch Atai HaMvorach, Le'am Va'ed. Praise Adonai, to whom praise is due forever. Praise be Adonai, to whom praise is due, now and forever. You may be seated. Now to page 31. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sails of the stars. creator of the tide of time and light. You guide the current of day into night. As heavens span to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv avraim. This is the hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv avraim. Turning to page 32. Your choice. 32.
Page 32. Actually, I think this one we should do in English, and if somebody else would like to read it in English, that would be good. Jessica, would you?
Sure. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people, Israel. Baruch
Atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Thank you. Okay, so we are now on page 34 for the Shema. So if you would please join me on the Shema, and rise if that is your custom, or nod if it is not. Ready? Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Vahed. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever. And on page 36, and anybody who would like to help me with the V'ahavta, I would also welcome that. Okay. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chal levavecha uv'chal nefeshecha uv'chal me'odecha v'chayu hadavarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzucha hayom alevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shuvitachtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shachtecha uv'kumecha uv'shartam la'ot al yadecha v'chayu l'totafot bein einecha uv'tatam Amazuzot beitecha uvisharecha. And would somebody like to read the English translation? Shay, would you please?
You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai, your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai, your God.
Amen. Adonai Elohechem Emet.
On to page 37. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath. I think there's someone out at that door. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvah so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. Turning to page 39. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before we ever stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May the earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered at Sinai. We bound ourselves to your way, inspired by prophets and instructed by sages. Time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Turning to page 40. Who is like you, O God, among the gods that are worshipped? Who is like you, majestic in holiness, awesome in splendor, working wonders? Your children witnessed your sovereignty, the sea splitting before Moses and Miriam. This is our God, they cried. Adonai will reign forever and ever. Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Turning to page 42, Hashkivenu.
Okay, so for those with books, for Hashkivenu, actually there's a really, the tune we were going to do was, involves just using the first three lines, and then into the indented section, and then kind of back to the top. And if we do it really, really well, we can try to do it as a round. But if not, we can just stick with it. We can play it straight first. Ready? Okay. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chayim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chayim. Now I go to the indent part. I miscounted. Ushmot seitenu uvoenu l'chayim u'shalom me'ata ve'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chayim. That's all right. Sorry, finding our place over here. Okay, so we will now turn to page 44. And turn it back over to Ken.
The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time. It is a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days Adonai made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day God ceased from work and was refreshed. Those who keep Shabbat by calling it a delight will rejoice in your realm. The people that hallow Shabbat will delight in your goodness. For being pleased with the seventh day, you hallowed it as the most precious of days, drawing our attention to the work of creation. Turning to page 46.
Adonai Shefatei Tiftech Ufyagi Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. We're now going to turn to page 48. Well, we could actually have someone else read it if you'd like. But would somebody like to read the English part of 48?
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, God of our fathers and mothers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, and God of Jacob, God of Sarah, God of Rebekah, God of Rachel, and God of Leah. The great, mighty, and awesome God, transcendent God, who bestows loving kindness, creates everything out of love, remembers the love of our fathers and mothers, and brings redemption to their children's children for the sake of the divine name. Shabbat, Shabbat, remember us for life, O Sovereign who delights in life, and inscribe us in the book of life for your sake, living God. Sovereign deliverer, helper, and shield, blessed are you, Adonai, Sarah's helper and Abraham's shield.
Ta Adonai Margain Avraham V'Yatzra Sarah. Thank you.
Turning to page 52. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh. Turning to page 55.
Actually,
Or someone.
yeah, Raphael, would you be willing to read page 55 for us in English?
Okay, sure. Do the stir whisper or the Mady's hours
Actually, we have. How about both parts?
Sure. Okay. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise.
Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Disturb us, Adonai. Ruffle us from our complacency. Make us dissatisfied. Dissatisfied with the peace of ignorance, the quietude which arises from shunning the horror, the defeat, the bitterness and the poverty, physical and spiritual, of humans. Shock us, Adonai. Deny to us the false Shabbat which gives us the belief into satisfaction amid a world of war and hatred. Wake us, O God, and shake us from the sweet and sad poignancies rendered by half-forgotten melodies and rubric prayers of yesteryears. Make us know that the border of the sanctuary is not the border of living, and the walls of your temples are not shelters from the winds of truth, justice, and reality. Disturb us, O God, and vex us. Let not your Shabbat be a day of torpor and slumber. Let it be a time to be stirred and spurred into action.
Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Could we now turn to page 56? Find favor, and feel free to join me. Find favor, Adonai, our God, with your people Israel, and accept their prayer and love. May the worship of your people Israel always be acceptable. God, he was near to all who call. Turn lovingly to your servants. Pour out your Spirit upon us. And turning to page 61. Zena, would you like to read the English?
Where?
The top part, the grant us peace?
Top of 61.
Yep, top of page 61.
Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Blessed our community as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship amongst all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praise to you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace.
Tanai, Raf et Olam Israel, Shalom. Don't stop after beating the swords into plowshares. Don't stop. Go on beating and make musical instruments out of them. Whoever wants to make war again will have to turn them into plowshares first. So if we now turn to page 63.
You're all free to join in as well, reading the top section. Create a pure heart within me. Let my soul wake up in your light. Open me to your presence. Flood me with your Holy Spirit. Then I will stand and sing out the power of your forgiveness. I will teach your love to the lonely. The lost will find their way home. Adonai, open up my lips, and my mouth will declare your praise. Reading through the lessons appointed for the day and the Psalms. I'm going to skip the Torah portion because right now we're in the section dealing with lepers reporting to the Kohen, and not a very exciting section. Very important in its day, I'm sure, but not something I think we want to talk about now. But I found some good things in the psalm. One that I think most of you will know, and one that's always given me a lot of peace. A song of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He causes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even as I walk in the valley of shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You set a table before me in the presence of my adversaries. You anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord for length of days. I'm sure you've all heard one translation or another of that psalm. In the Christian world, that's pretty much read at every single funeral. So it's something we both share in common and use frequently. A great affirmation. The Lord is my shepherd. Every promise in the psalm hangs on the power of this promise. The psalmist says, I believe in God. I believe that God cares, and I believe that God cares about me. The Lord is my shepherd. Sheep are not intelligent animals. They are defenseless and dependent, and they live by the faith of the shepherd. David, who wrote or inspired this psalm, is saying that in our anxious, nervous world, we too live in dependence on our shepherd. Pride sometimes keeps us from admitting the need for direction. David knew the pain of trying to chart his own course. The prophet Nathan confronted him with his sin, and in that moment of brokenness, the shepherd king saw his need for divine direction. Now, with a new sense of trust in God, David affirms, "The Lord is my shepherd." The great affirmation lends to a great assertion, "I shall not want." The psalmist is really saying, because God is my shepherd, I have everything I really need. But the tragedy is that many of our lives are at the corner of complaint and regret. If I only had this, or if only that had not happened to me. The promise of Psalm 23 is that we will have everything we really need for a life worth living. I grow tired. He restores my soul. The valley is long and lonesome. Thou art with me. I am anxious. Thy rod and thy staff will comfort me. I fear death. I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. How sad to believe in God but never really trust him. Faith is more than belief. It is the trusting of ourselves to God, depending on him to lead us to a life worth living. A part of the power of the shepherd psalm is that it is a roadmap. It touches us where we live and hurt and struggle. We soon discover that if we are to have a life worth living, we need a power from beyond ourselves. God is our strength. The psalmist says, "He restoreth my soul." David knew the need for the renewing power of God. From a shepherd boy, he had risen to be king. He had it all. But sometimes when we think we have it all, we forget our need for God. Great was the fall of David when Nathan confronted him with his sin. God restores my soul, David said. God picks me up when I've fallen. He lifts me when the load is heavy. In my weakness, God comes with the renewing of his omnipotence. The children of God need the message of God's renewal. We look inward too much and upward too little. You and I, as the children of God, must look in, out, and around us to see the need of ourselves and others. But most of all, we must look up to the renewing power of God. God is our sufficiency. He guideth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. God's nature is to guide. He is not a reluctant leader, but we are often reluctant followers. His leadership is sufficient. Our fellowship is often uncertain, hesitant, and tentative. Like sheep, we wander from the fold, but the nature of the shepherd is to seek the one lost sheep. All of us need a renewing power for life. Like David, that is sometimes difficult to confess. But when we admit our weakness, God supplies his supernatural strength. Yea, though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Hope. What is it? What is the thing that sometimes keeps us at the business of life, even when we are tempted to give up? Hope is better described than defined. Hope is in the child as he or she wait for their birthdays that seem to never come. For the first night of Hanukkah, what will I get? I saw the absence of hope in the eyes of a man wandering the street when I lived in New York City. He didn't appear to be that old, but he looked worn and weary. Stringy hair and beard, oversized coat, a bottle in his hand. But mostly I noticed the vacant eyes that stared but didn't really see. We need hope for a life worth living. Hope comes through the certainty of God's presence. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Palestine is a land of great mountains and deep valleys. As the sheep move through the valleys darkened by the shadows of the mountains, they were assured of one thing, the shepherd's presence. This is our certain hope. Life moves on, and sometimes we go through the shadowy stretches. Even there, God is with us. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. Peace is one of the great themes of the Bible. What is peace? The absence of problems or pressures? No. These are a part of the givens in our lives. Is peace the absence of all conflict? No. There are even times when God has called his people into conflict with the destructive forces of other nations. Peace is really built on the promise of his presence. The peace of the 23rd Psalm is built on that great promise. The Lord is my shepherd. That is the one critical constant in changes of our life. The psalmist sees God in control of his life. God knows our limits. He maketh me lie down in green pastures. Sheep do not know their limits. They will stray in the fields all day, never resting. The shepherd makes them lie down. The principle of this passage is that God will never put on us more than we can bear. Lou Holtz, who was a football coach at the University of Minnesota, said after a bitter loss, God may not give us more than we can bear, but sometimes I think he overestimates my ability. Football's a game. We get over it. But what about it when our lives seem to be 0 and 10? David knew the struggle of the soul to understand the suffering of life. Why God? Where are you, God? The psalmist found his answer where we always find it, not in an explanation of suffering, but in the presence of God who sustains us. Too simple for our sophisticated society? I don't believe so. Simply trusting in the presence of God who knows my limits. That is all. He leads me beside still waters. What a great statement of faith. A sheep will not drink from the rushing currents. They trust the shepherd to lead them to the still waters. Prayer is going to the still waters. It's getting our bearings in a world where we are beckoned in 1,000 directions. Prayer is realizing again that God is in control, and that brings peace to our lives. Remembering the Sabbath and keeping it holy are a command and a blessing. It calls us as a Jewish nation to pause, give thanks, and celebrate the blessings of this day of rest and peace. Who controls you today? Who leads you, and what are you following that brings you a sense of peace in our troubled and tense times? We can have peace, but it must be his peace. God gives us his peace. The question is, will we receive his gift of peace? Turning to page 282.
Sorry, we have several versions of the Aleinu here, and I know the tune for one of them. Okay, so we are on page 282 at the bottom of the page. So if everyone would rise for the Aleinu. And please join me. Aleinu l'shabeach li'adon hakol, l'chageit gedula li'otzer breshit, shelo asanu k'goyei haratzot, v'lo samanu k'shifet kol hadama, shelo sam ch'malkeinu kachem, v'goralenu k'kol ha'onav, v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim l'ifnei melech malkein hamachim hakadosh baruch hu. All right, so we will now turn to page 283.
Where?
Page 283. Yeah, just the next page over. Let us now praise the Sovereign of the universe and proclaim the greatness of the Creator whose unity we are charged to declare, whose realm it is our purpose to uphold. Therefore we bow in awe and thanksgiving before the one who is sovereign over all, the Holy and Blessed One. All join me in reading. Let us adore the ever-living God and render praise unto you, who spreads out the heavens and established the earth, whose glory is revealed in the heavens above, whose greatness is manifest throughout the world. You are our God. There is none else. Turning to page 285.
Actually, sorry, before we do page 285, if you don't mind, let's do the top of page 284 in Hebrew, because we know the tune, and we were starting it anyway.
Always a good reason.
Huh?
Always a good reason.
Yes. Okay, you ready? So here we go. Shechunot hashamayim v'yosed haaretz u'mashav yikra b'shemayim mima'al u'shmi nachuzo b'vochei morobim hum Eloheinu ein od emet malkeinu efes ulato kakatuv b'torato v'yadata hayom v'chashveta el levavecha ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim b'shamayim ima'al v'yal haaretz mikratecha ein od. Would anybody like to read the English translation for that? Anyone who hasn't?
I can.
Okay, please, Rachel.
For you spread out the heavens and established the earth. Your majestic abode is in the heavens above, and your mighty presence is in the loftiest heights. You are our God, and there is none else. In truth, you are our sovereign without compare, as is written in your Torah. Know then this day and take it to heart that Adonai is surely God in the heavens above and on the earth below. There is none else.
Thank you. And there's another prayer in English on page 285. Would anybody like to read that?
Let the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love. When corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. O may all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the world of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever.
Amen. Okay, so that brings us to page 287. Yep, page. Yep, 287. Sorry. So may we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Loved, each of us, for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand, but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. If you would join me in the singing the Ne'emar in the middle of the page. The Ne'emar v'chaya Adonai, the Melech al kol ha'oretz, bayom hahu, yiyeh Adonai echad, u'shemo And we will now turn to page 293.
291?
293.
The year's core. Especially appropriate in this time, in this world so touched by wars, famines, and disease. We remember all the lives, those near and dear to us, those unknown to us throughout the world, who have died just in this past week. We remember our people who suffered and died so that we could be free and secure. May their memory be more than a distant shadow. For their dreams left unfulfilled and lives taken too soon. We remember. Remember our brothers and sisters whose sacrifice kept the dream of democracy and justice alive. Especially remember Israel's 73rd birthday, 2 days ago. May their courage be an inspiration and strength. For life cut short and vision unrealized, we remember. Remember the fallen of our armed services, the victims of terror and tragedy. May the darkness of their loss not obscure the light of peace. They were in love with our land and in love with life. for the agony, the tears, the mothers and the fathers, for the children who were, and for the children yet to be, we remember. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. Turning to page 294.
If anybody is in mourning, please rise, or if it's your custom to rise for the mourner's Kaddish, feel free to rise and say it with me. So, Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah, v'yalma divrach hirute, v'yamlich malchute, v'chayechon uvyomechon, uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, Ba'al ubizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mivarach leolam u'olmei al shmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalach shmei dekudasha berechu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata Da'amira bi'olma v'imru amen. Yehesh lama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imrumav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all of Israel, to which we say, Amen. Thank you. You may now be seated. And please turn to page, whoops, we already did that, so sorry about that. So with that, we are pretty much done with the service. Other than, I'm trying to see if there's a song that we should be doing at the end.
Yidal is in this book on page 294, and I imagine if you consulted the index or the table of contents, you could find it on the law.
Adon Olam is a good one, yes.
But I don't know where that would be.
Yeah.
But Yidal is on page 294.
Well, we just did that. Oh, and Adon Olam is on page 321.
Well, there you go.
321. Yes, countdown. Has everyone found it? Okay, let's do the fast version. Ready? Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nirach li'et nasa b'chefso kol azay nelech shemo nikra Adon Olam v'yachrel rei keflot hakol livdo yimok nerat tila Adon Olam Nehu chaya, nehu hoveh, nehu yeh b'tifara Adon Olam, Adon Olam, Adon Olam, asher malach, b'terem kol, v'tzir nirach, v'yet nasa, v'tefto kol. Azim melech shemo nikra Adon Olam, V'hu echad v'yein sheni, l'cham shilok l'chavera Adon Olam, v'li roshit, v'li tachlit, Velo ha'ofacham shuro Adon olam, Adon olam, Asher malach, B'terem kol, Yitzir nira, Liet nasa, V'teft zocho, Azai melech shemo nikrat Adon olam, V'hu Eli, V'chai goeli, V'tzor tivli, V'eit zera Adon olam, V'hu nisi, humanos li, Menat kosi biyom avra Adon olam, Adon olam, Asher malach, B'terem kol, Yitzir nira, V'eit nasa, B'teft zocho, Azai melech shemo nikra Adon olam, Biyado, Avkuli roti, Be'et aser be'ahira Adon olam, V'im roti, Goyayati, Adon olai v'lo ira Adon olam. Well, thank you very much. That was a really wonderful version of that song, too. Thank you. So Shabbat Shalom, everybody. That was great.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much. Also, thank you for anybody who's joining us at home.
For those watching at home, come back tomorrow. There'll be a better edited version available. Shabbat Shalom to all of you.